How's it going there, guys? Dave Nader here, and today I have another movie review for you. A movie review for War for the Planet of the Apes. Besides Star Wars The Last Jedi, this might actually be my most anticipated movie of the year. I love Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and I think Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is even better, and I was really hoping that this would be another great entry in the series to top it off and make it a great trilogy of sci-fi films. And you don't get too many great sci-fi trilogies out there, and so it would be awesome to have yet another one of those. I think a whole lot of people have been taken off guard at how good Rise and Dawn actually were, and so I was very excited for this movie. And now let's actually talk about this. So plot-wise, at least for now, I don't want to give very much away at all. Essentially, Caesar, as well as a few other apes, are going off on kind of a journey to accomplish something. See, I'm being very vague because I don't want to give too much away, but now the apes and humans are in an all-out war, and there's a lot of negativity and bad feelings going around between the two sides, and Caesar's just trying to keep his apes safe, but he has a task that he needs to accomplish, so he goes off on his own, not quite on his own because he takes a few other apes with him, and they come across this little girl, and they decide to bring her along with them. And again, trying to be vague, the villain in this movie is played by Woody Harrelson. He is a colonel, and he has a lot of military might underneath his belt, and there you go. See, I'm trying to be really vague. Maybe a little bit later on I'll dish out more plot details, not spoilers, but yeah, I'm just gonna say that this movie did take me off guard, and in a similar way to how the first two movies did, because Rise of the Planet of the Apes, I didn't realize that it was going to be like part of a series. I thought that in that movie it was going to be the apes rise probably like halfway through, and then by the end of the movie they would have taken over the world, and it would be, like a cool action movie. And that's not how that movie was at all. It was an interesting drama, not a human drama, an ape drama, and it was filled with really good characters. And there was a similar case with Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Now, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes does have battles in it. There's gunfire, and there's some pretty epic stuff. And when there's action in that movie, it was really cool. But again, it was few and far between, and I was taken off guard at how little action there tended to be in that movie. But it was still a great movie. But same with Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Both of those movies are great movies. They're, first and foremost, just really compelling dramas. Following characters that you wouldn't expect to be compelling at all. It's following a bunch of apes, and yet they're great, well-written, very well-acted characters. And, in this case, War for the Planet of the Apes, I wasn't expecting it to be a non-stop action thriller. Like, I get what the first two movies are. They're mainly dramas. And so I expected the same to be the case with this movie. But again, it still caught me off guard, because the movie is called War for the Planet of the Apes. I expected there to be more battles, and really, there isn't. There isn't very much action in this movie at all. Gonna go ahead and talk about that right now, though. But when there is action in this movie, whew, it's good. It's great, actually. It's really intense. It's incredibly well shot. The locations in which the action sequences take place, especially the first big fight of the movie. Just the forced setting is just beautiful to look at. It's really intense, and there's a layer of authenticity and realism that you wouldn't expect, but that is, I think, brought into this movie. It's not a realistic movie by any means. Of course it's not. It's a movie about talking animals, but still, it feels a lot more grounded in reality than you would expect it to. It's intense. As far as PG-13 movies go, it's pretty brutal. It's not gory by any means, but when people get shot, when people get hit with arrows, when people get beaten to death, it's like, ooh, dang. It's pretty, sound design is pretty good in that department. But still, there's not very much action in this movie, so this movie, once again, caught me off guard a little bit like that. And it's, once again, first and foremost, by far, the majority of the time, just a compelling, not human, ape drama. But luckily, it does work really well at that. All the characters in this movie are still very likable. They're very endearing. You care about them. You want to see them succeed in all their goals. All the attributes that should be found that make up likable characters are here in this movie. There's good character development. This movie also took me off guard with plot elements and, just things that happen to the characters in this movie as well. There's some surprising things. There's some very good emotion in this movie to be sure, which is backed up very well by the very good music from Michael Giacchino. I think I don't hear that many people talking about the music in Rise and Dawn and now War for the Planet of the Apes, because his music in these movies has been really good. It carries a whole lot of emotion as well as a sense of adventure, and Michael Giacchino did a very good job with the score for this movie as well as the past several movies. But yeah, there's a lot of good emotion between the characters. The CGI is pretty much the best that I've ever seen, at least in terms of bringing to life CGI characters, CGI animals. Like, at least in terms of that, it's pretty much best of the best, period. I've never seen better CGI. I mean, in the case of a movie like Avatar, it's not just the characters that they bring to life with CGI, it's this entire world, you know. So, I mean, in some ways, I guess you could say that that's still more impressive because it's not just it's not just some characters, it's like an entire setting and all these areas that you're creating digitally as well. So, I mean, I guess you could kind of say that's more impressive. But you know what, for my money, I'm just straight up saying this movie has pretty much the best CGI ever put to film, period. It looks amazing. It's also an incredibly well shot movie. The movie looks beautiful, and you know, and I mentioned when I was talking about the action for a little while ago that the settings for those action sequences is great. That actually applies to the whole movie. The movie just, you know, there's actually I was surprisingly wide variety of landscapes in this movie. I mean, you know, you see desert, you see snowy landscapes, you see forest, and it's all just incredibly well realized and put into the film. Just, you know, I mean, I'm sure there was some green screen, you know, some fake locations that they did, but it's also just, it's very beautiful looking in terms of the cinematography, the special effects, and also just the setting for the film. It's a great looking movie. Where the problems come in, because the movie has good characters, it looks great, it sounds really good with good music and sound design that's pretty brutal when the action does hit, and the action is really good. But the movie, it can tend to be a bit slow, and this is where I will talk a little bit more about the plot. You know, I don't know, I only saw the first trailer. I think I only saw part of it, actually, so I was trying to hide details of the movie from myself, so maybe this is clearly shown in the previews or not, but in case you don't want spoilers, maybe just go ahead and see the movie. Minor spoilers. But basically, about 45 minutes or so into the movie, it's basically becomes kind of a prison break movie, or not even really a prison break movie, because, you know, Caesar gets captured. And then you just, for a very long portion of the movie, it's the apes in captivity. And that's not a bad thing, because it was still interesting, there's still some good emotion, and still good character development, and some decent dialogue in this movie as well. And you get to see a good bit of Woody Harrelson as the villain in this movie, and he's very good. But the thing is, I just felt like it went on for too long. And again, I get that this is not supposed to be a big explosive action movie. There's not very much of that in this movie. That's not the film that they're setting out to make. Okay, I get that. And, you know, in the case of Rise of the Planet of the Apes, it surprised me that it was kind of a prison break movie, and it was only like the last 20 minutes to where there was action, but it wasn't like apes taking over the world. It was more like apes trying not to get shot and murdered, and then eventually escaping to the forest, you know. I guess that's kind of spoilers, but whatever, this is the third film, so obviously, you know, the apes got out alive in the first movie. And I came to terms with that. I was like, okay, that's the movie they're trying to make. The thing is, if you're doing the prison, you know, the apes kept in, well, a zoo, you know, so not exactly a prison, but the equivalent of prison for animals, you know what I mean, man. Yeah, if you're doing that again, because the film lingers in this area for so long, it began to feel a bit repetitive, and I was wondering for a while why the setting in the prison was beginning to bug me. I was like, okay, come on. I mean, I was expecting an action movie going into this, but I should be able to respect this movie for what it is. Why am I not enjoying it just a little bit more than I would have expected to? I mean, there's still good character development, and then it dawned on me. It's like, you know what, this setting has just gotten a little bit repetitive. We've been here before with this series. And so that was... you know, that was basically my main issue with the movie. And also just, you know, another personal subjective thing that I'm not going to actually count as a problem per se, but yeah, as I've said several times, I expected there to be more action in this movie. And because I didn't get much of it, you know, I mean, even the climax of the movie, to where there is battles, it's not, you know, I'm not going to spoil it, but it's not really a big, like, ape on human confrontation. It's all come down to this battle. It's not, even then, it's still not really like that. So I couldn't help but feel a little bit unfulfilled walking out of this movie. But nonetheless, I still can't deny that it's a very good movie. It's really not a disappointing movie by any stretch of the imagination, because I love the characters in this movie. There's good dialogue. It's pretty much the best dialogue that I've seen out of the series, which is impressive because it has the least human characters and human talking scenes that I've seen. You know, it's a lot of scenes where Caesar is confronting Woody Harrelson or talking to other apes, and it's really well-written dialogue. There's very good emotion in this movie, very good music, it's very well shot, and when the action does hit, it's great. It really is, especially that first big battle there. That was honestly a pretty amazing scene. I was like, holy crap, this movie is going to be outstanding. And then it took me off guard by being a lot more slow-paced than I would have expected. So I think when I see this movie again, I'll have a more, I guess, fulfilling movie-going experience, because I will actually know what I'm getting into. And so really, it's mainly the main cause for annoyance on my end coming home after seeing the movie is just because it subverted my expectations. You know, it wasn't the type of movie that I was kind of hoping it would be, but I can't fault the filmmakers for making the movie that they wanted to set out to make. They wanted to make, first and foremost, a compelling sci-fi drama. And they succeeded very well. The only real problem I have with the movie is that it lingers on the zoo or prison setting, you know, with the apes in captivity, for just a bit too long. And the reason it felt a bit too long is because we've been here in this series before. And not to mention, the movie is called War for the Planet of the Apes, so you kind of expect there to be a war. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to respect the movie for what it is. And again, like, it's not like I'm reluctantly saying, well, I guess it's good. No, I did for sure enjoy the movie. It's just there are certain aspects of it that kind of bugged me. And part of that was due to false expectations, but part of that is due to the fact that the series got just a tad bit repetitive in some places with this movie. But still, I would definitely recommend you go and see this movie in theaters. It's a very good movie. And, I mean, just for the ending of the movie, I mean, no details or anything, but there's just some very powerful emotion. It's, again, very beautiful to look at. It's a very good movie. Go see it, and the grade that I'm going to give it is a B+. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please rate and comment and subscribe. And if you want to, you can also share. Goodbye, guys.